Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Friar Talk podcast. Today, we're not really talking about the Padres, I guess we're talking about baseball also, but we kind of want to talk about two sport athletes mainly because what happened on Twitter. And everybody was going crazy over AJ Brown saying he wanted to play for the Padres. For anyone who doesn't know, AJ Brown was drafted in the 19th round. I forgot what year, but he was drafted by the Padres as an outfielder. I looked up his perfect game page, and he was actually the number one ranked outfielder in Mississippi, and I think he was in the top 100 in the country. So, definitely seemed like a legit baseball player. He's for anyone who watches the Titans, he is their best receiver. He is, in my opinion, one of the best receivers in football. Speed, everything. He's got size. I think he's kind of like an Andre Johnson for anyone who remembered Andre Johnson. But Chase, what do you think? There's been a lot of I don't know if you remember Kyler Murray. He was debating on playing baseball or football, drafted by the A's. What do you think? Do you think we'll see another two-sport athlete?
I think it really depends on which sport they start in. Because if they start in baseball and then try to transition to football, I think it's all dependent on okay, you can go play football, and it depends on what position they are. Like Bo Jackson, phenomenal case of he went and played football, would get hurt in football, and then come play baseball, and even then, relatively short careers for both because of injuries. Then you look on Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders, I don't remember how long he played baseball for, but I know he'd play in the World Series and the Super Bowl. I mean, you don't really see it that often outside of those two players. Kyler Murray, I think, is an example of one guy that he could do both. Kyler Murray was drafted in the first round, top 10 picks in both the NFL and MLB, and I think they really made him decide which sport he wanted to play. But if they were open to it, I think you could do both because one, he's playing an outfield position. You would keep up the speed and everything. You would help your ball tracking skills. Not that he really needs it, but it might help you pull off a few trick plays in football. But you know what? I want to see it. It really depends on the teams because they are really picky about their players and their health and what they do outside of their sport. I mean, we saw particularly baseball. Hey, Mad Bum, let's not go ride ATVs or ride bulls mid-season. That's not a good thing. Let's not do that. So teams are really picky about how they get their players helping up and everything. But if they started in football and then went to baseball, I think it's easier to do that because one, you'd play most of the baseball season to stay in shape and then go to football where you might miss a couple of games in baseball for just rest days because I doubt they're really going to fly out right after a baseball game to go play football. They overlap a little bit, and especially for playoffs. But there's not a lot of guys that get drafted and could legit be in the MLB and the NFL without going through the minors first. Like Kyler, he probably would have took a year or two in the minors. I couldn't say Johnny Manziel would have made the major leagues. I honestly don't know his baseball stats though. Russell Wilson, I know, was drafted by the Yankees, but I don't think he would have ever made it. So if AJ Brown did it and he was really dedicated, he'd probably spend a year, probably 2 years, because I don't know the last time he's picked up like 90 plus pitching. So if he decided to do it, I mean, that would be amazing. If Kyler decided to do it, I mean, a lot of jokes were made after the playoff loss when they got absolutely whooped that he made the wrong decision and should have went to the A's. I mean, probably would have made more money that way, but and less hits and less injuries. But it's an interesting question. I want it to happen again. I just don't know how a person can play both sports with the level that baseball has come to with pitching and everything around it.
Yeah, completely with you on that. Not only because of that, but if you remember Patrick Mahomes, he was playing basketball and people saw him playing basketball. And I think like not even a day to a week later, the Chiefs put in his contract that he can't play basketball anymore. So I think there's going to be limitations, not because of the player, but because of the teams. Like you said, there's going to be limitations in contracts from now on. I mean, I personally think players, athletes, they're humans. They should be able to do whatever they want. I would want, if I was an athlete and I was good at two sports, I'd want to play both sports. Um, but with that being said, I see Fernando doing a bunch of crazy stuff. People talked about the motorcycle accident, which actually came out as fake. People talked about that, and they talk about what he's doing, and like that's good that he's able to do that. I think players should have the freedom to be able to do what they want outside of baseball, do their thing off the field. Going back to Kyler Murray, what wasn't he a first round pick? I want to say he was a first round pick. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he was like drafted number 6 or 7
Yeah,
overall. He was like the first player to be top 10 in both leagues.
yeah. So very clearly he was a stud. Um, I think that goes without saying, but he chose football because the A's weren't offering him enough money. I think it was, or else he would have chosen baseball. Um, There's a bunch of guys that have been drafted in both. Johnny Manziel being one. Jameis Winston played both baseball and football at FSU. I think you brought up Russell Wilson. I forgot who else, but a lot of these guys, two-sport athletes, are very good. And I mean, we go back to Michael Jordan, who is probably the most infamous to be able to do both sports, baseball and basketball. He was okay at baseball. The numbers don't show that he was okay. They show that he was very lackluster in baseball, but he was starting to improve a little bit before he got back into basketball. And it's a good thing he got back into basketball. Um, but with that being said, I don't think we're going to see another two-sport athlete, at least not for a long time. There's a bunch that could do it right now. Patrick Mahomes was throwing 91 in the 8th grade. Justin Herbert had like below a 1 ERA all throughout his high school career. So these are guys that they could play two sports. I just don't think, with today's limitations, I don't think we'll see it happening. But Chase, you have anything else to say about it?
Yeah, since we brought that up, I had a question. If the MLB shortens their season, like I don't know if it's going to happen this season or when they're going to do it. If they happens to be in the CBA agreement, I know there were talks about shortening the 162 game season. Say they change it to about 100 to 120 games. Do you think teams would be more willing to let their guy go and play?
I think in baseball they would be willing. I think baseball contracts are more open to letting their players go out and play different sports. I just think it would be like football. Like I said, Patrick Mahomes. I think it'd be more so that because they already have to take on punishment through their body throughout a 16, 17 game season already. And I don't think they want their bodies to get any more deteriorated in a 120 game season. Basketball, I think we'd probably see it more likely. But football, I just don't see them doing that. There's a lot of things that I think would limit them from allowing players to play baseball. But I think baseball players would be allowed to play other sports. I don't think football players would. I think basketball players would. But in terms of the major sports, at least, I don't think we're going to see it, but we could see like a baseball player go out and play one of the, like, I don't know, golf, something like that. So we could see another.
Mookie and bowling.
Oh my guys, I don't like Mookie Betts, but that might be one of the best bowlers in the world, in the country right now. Not even lying. Like the guy bowls consistent 300s. But yeah, exactly. Like Mookie and bowling. He did do a bowling tournament. So we could see another two-sport athlete. We probably will see another two-sport athlete, just not in the sense that we're all thinking. But with that being said, Chase, go for it.
Yeah, I got one more. I think the only chance that we get a two-sport athlete out of the NFL is it's a quarterback and they pitch. I think that's it. I don't think they want their players, to be playing every single day. And even if they pitch, they would probably only prefer them to be a bullpen role because that way they don't throw every day. Their arms are safe. But I feel like there's benefits to playing both. You see Patrick Mahomes and his sidearm angles, Matthew Stafford and his little funky throws. Those all come from baseball. Like the little throws to the side, they all originate from them playing baseball, playing shortstop, being on the mound, making the arm throws, changing the arm slots. So there's definitely benefits of playing both. And I think people realize that, but I don't know if NFL teams will ever let it happen. But I'd love to see Patrick Mahomes pitch in a big league game or Justin Herbert. I want to see that guy on a mound.
Absolutely, man. And for any parents, the studies and the everything shows that if your kid is a two-sport athlete, they're more likely to succeed in higher levels of sports. But with that being said, Mr. 1K always open. I would love to see him in a Padres uniform or in a minor league Padres uniform. the dude would become my first round pick in fantasy in every draft because of that. But with that being said, thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you guys soon.